Something feels off in Baltimore. The draft is over, and the Baltimore Ravens had everything lined up to come out stronger, more complete. But the news coming out afterward? Not good. In fact, some of these decisions are raising serious concerns, and they could directly impact how this team performs next season. And the deeper you look into it, the more it starts to feel like this isn't just one small issue. There are real gaps that weren't addressed, decisions that are being questioned, and a lot of pressure starting to build inside that building. So what actually happened in this draft? And why are so many people already worried about what's coming next? The Ravens walked into this draft with 11 picks. To me, that's more than enough ammo to fix just about everything that needed attention, especially the obvious weak spots. But when you really break it down, it's hard to ignore what didn't get done. The center position is still a question mark, and they didn't add a true deep threat who can consistently stretch the field, and that matters way more than it might seem at first. The center is the anchor of the offensive line, setting protections, making pre-snap calls, keeping everything organized. Without stability there, things can fall apart before the play even begins. On top of that, without an explosive outside receiver who forces defenses to back off, the field shrinks. And to me, that makes the offense predictable. And NFL defenses punish predictable offenses. That impact goes straight to Lamar Jackson. Because it's not just about his talent, it's about what's around him. If protection breaks down and there's no consistent deep threat, everything becomes harder. And that ties directly into the new offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle. There's real uncertainty about what he can bring, and the report puts it bluntly. We have no idea if Declan Doyle will be any good as a play caller or leader of an offense. To me, that says it all. He's already under pressure without having the ideal tools. And when you combine those gaps with some questionable decisions during the draft, the conversation starts to shift. Because this doesn't feel like a lack of opportunity. It feels like the priorities were off. And that leads straight into the next issue. If you just look at the names, you might think the Ravens added some solid pieces. But once you put those picks into context, compared to what this team actually needed, everything changes. To me, the biggest issue isn't just what they missed. It's what they chose to prioritize instead. Baltimore passed on multiple runs of players who could have made an immediate impact. Dynamic tight ends, explosive slot receivers, and most importantly, interior offensive linemen. Instead, they went with players like Zion Young, a developmental pass rusher, and a possession-type receiver. And here's the key point. Several evaluators didn't just disagree, they were clear about it. They believed these were reaches, meaning the players were taken earlier than their true value. That puts instant pressure on those guys. Because now it's not just about developing, it's about justifying the pick. In Zion Young's case, expectations are already high from day one. The message is clear in the report. He better be a factor as a rookie. To me, that tells you everything about how risky those decisions were. At the end of the day, this creates an uncomfortable reality. The draft didn't fall short because of a lack of talent. It fell short because of the decisions that were made. And when that happens, the consequences don't stay on paper. They show up on the field, especially for the people trying to make this offense work. The situation for Declan Doyle is far from ideal. He's stepping into an offense that already had limitations. And after this draft, those same issues are still there. Maybe even more obvious now. To me, the problem is simple. He's going to be evaluated like he has a complete roster, when in reality he doesn't. And it gets even tougher when you think about last season. Todd Monken, a much more experienced coordinator, had stretches where the offense struggled, and that was with a more stable situation up front. Now Doyle is stepping in with fewer guarantees and more uncertainty around him. The report doesn't sugarcoat it either. We have no idea if Declan Doyle will be any good. That's not random criticism. That's the reality of the situation. Without a reliable center, without a consistent deep threat, and with questions along the offensive line, his job becomes less about designing plays and more about covering up structural flaws. And when a coordinator has to spend more time fixing problems than maximizing strengths, things can go sideways quickly. That's why, at this point, the solution isn't coming from the draft anymore. It has to come from what they do next, All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video. But before we keep going, I noticed you haven't hit the like button yet. And that really matters, because it helps YouTube keep showing Ravens content like this to you. So if you enjoy staying updated with the latest Ravens news, analysis, and everything happening around the team, go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow, and it's completely free. I appreciate it. After a draft that left clear holes, there's no more waiting around for development or hoping things magically work out. The path forward is simple. Use the cap space and go get help. This isn't an overreaction. It's urgent. The report highlights 3 names that make immediate sense. Graham Glasgow would bring much-needed experience to the offensive line, something this group is seriously lacking outside of Ronnie Stanley, who's already dealing with durability concerns. To me, that kind of move doesn't fix everything, but it at least stabilizes a major weakness. At left tackle, the situation is described as an emergency, and honestly, that fits. Not drafting someone like Caden Proctor in the first round left them without a clear depth plan. That's why names like Cornelius Lucas or DJ Humphries are being mentioned. Not ideal options, but at least functional. The report says it best. So yeah, it's 911 time. And when a team is forced into moves like this after the draft, it tells you something went wrong in the planning. The good news? There's still time to fix it. But that brings us to one last major concern that hasn't gone away. With all the needs this team had, one decision really stands out. The Ravens waited until the 5th round to draft a cornerback. For a defense that heavily relies on nickel and dime packages, that's a red flag right away. And when you look at the current group, the concerns grow. Nate Wiggins is still a lighter build and might be better suited inside. Marlon Humphrey hasn't looked like his old self, and Chidobe Awuzie, while a solid re-signing, is getting older. To me, that's not a group you feel fully confident riding through an entire season. The report goes even further, pointing out something very direct. Wiggins and Humphrey were among the most targeted duos in the NFL last season. That's not random. That's a clear sign of vulnerability. And even if the pass rush improves, relying on that alone to cover up issues in the secondary is a dangerous bet. That's why adding someone like Rasul Douglas makes so much sense. A bigger, more physical outside corner who can bring immediate balance. Because looking at this group right now, to me, bringing everyone back isn't continuity. It's repeating a problem that's already been exposed. The Ravens walk away from this draft with more questions than answers. And honestly, that's not what you expect from a team that had this much draft capital. To me, the biggest issue isn't just what they missed. It's the feeling that certain decisions ignored clear needs on this roster. And when those gaps remain at key positions, it shows up on the field. There's no way around that. There's still a path to fix some of this, especially through free agency and smart use of cap space. But the reality is simple. There's no margin for error anymore. Every move from this point forward has to hit, because the foundation that should have been built in the draft feels incomplete. And that puts pressure on everyone, from the front office to the coaching staff. Now I want to hear from you. Are you feeling the same level of concern after this draft? Or do you still believe the Ravens are on the right track? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to know what you would do if you were running this team. And if you're a true Ravens fan and love keeping up with everything happening around the team, don't leave this video without sharing it with a friend who's just as passionate. They're definitely going to enjoy this. See those videos on your screen right now? I picked the first one especially for you, and the other is recommended by YouTube. Go check them out, and I'll see you in the next video.